Telegram CEO Pavel Durov broke his silence after being arrested in France at the end of August. For background, French authorities took Pavel into custody August 28th on charges related to illegal activities on the app. Per authorities, the crimes on Telegram include the spread of child sexual abuse material, fraud, and drug sales. Pavel posted publicly Thursday on his Telegram account criticizing the French charges as misguided and denying the app is an anarchic paradise. Durov went further, writing, quote, "If a country is unhappy with an internet service, the established practice is to start a legal action against the service itself. No innovator will ever build new tools if they know they can be personally held responsible for potential abuse of those tools."
Now, French citizen detailed what ensued following his arrest per his post. Durov says French police interviewed him 4 days after landing in France and told him he could be personally responsible for other people's illegal use of Telegram. He pushed back on French authorities' claim that Telegram was not responsive to their inquiries, posting, quote, "Telegram has an official representative in the EU that accepts and replies to EU requests. The French authorities had numerous ways to reach me to request assistance." So I would say, how convenient would it be if there was one place where all of the pedophiles and sex traffickers were, and then you could just work directly with law enforcement to ensure these guys are found? I mean, this idea that he wasn't cooperative, I think, is going to be what needs to be proven for people to not see this as some kind of effort to end Telegram, which is an app used frequently by activists. Let's not forget that very recently, the French far right tried to take control in their elections. They hated that there were protests over people who were upset about the consideration that they would increase the retirement age. French has a very active base of protesters. And so this idea that they're outlawing this app because it's used for criminal activity feels like it's really about something else. So they're going to need to prove that this EU representative was not responsive to their investigations and their requests.
Yeah, I agree. And if we look at a similar situation in the United States, there have been lawsuits filed against porn websites, specifically Pornhub, for allegedly profiting off of child sex abuse material and otherwise non-consensual sex that gets posted onto their websites. Now, their websites have upload features where people can put up videos without prior approval from the website. And so it's up to the website to be proactive in helping to go through that content and make sure that it's fit to be on the internet. But you don't see the owner of Pornhub being arrested and frog marched into a jail cell, right? You see that there's civil lawsuits against the websites themselves in federal court over these claims. And so his comparison there, saying the typical response to complaints about a service is to go after the service, not the founder or the entrepreneur, I think is an apt one based on what we've seen happening in the United States. Obviously, different countries, different rules, but I think to hold him personally liable or responsible for what's going on in the app when there's certainly millions of communications that happen on there every single day just doesn't strike me as the right way to achieve justice here.
Yeah, as the whistleblowers with Cambridge Analytica put it, that the use of data, the use of technology is like a knife. You can use it to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You can use it to kill somebody, and it's all about how you use it. And so, is the CEO responsible for the personal decisions of people on the app? I mean, if we want to compare it to something else, it's like if you leave a gun at your house that's registered to your name and you live with other people and they're allowed to use it and they use it to kill someone, is that your fault? I don't know. I don't think so. And so when you develop an app, are you developing it for the purpose of people to use it for nefarious things? And it's important to note that this is an encrypted communications app. It's a place for people to send messages without someone spying on them. The idea that the government would target this kind of app has a lot of people raising questions, not just about free speech, but about their personal safety. In the United States, if this were to happen here under our laws, it would certainly be a Fourth Amendment concern for an unreasonable search and seizure that the government would expect, the app to just turn over all of the encrypted communications, because you have to have some kind of evidence collected to prove you have probable cause, that you have a reason to believe some suspicious behavior is going on. And that requires law enforcement to do a little bit more work than maybe they're willing to. But at the end of the day, I think it's far less about them trying to find criminals and far more about the fact that they see this kind of encrypted messaging service as a threat to power, especially government and corporate power. And that's why it's become a target. And so they really are in the spotlight. This is not something that they've been able to get done under the radar. And so I don't think we're going to end up seeing this CEO, Pavel Durov, in jail. I think the solution should be, something that could have come out of a civil case, like a renegotiation about how the authorities work with the executives and representatives at Telegram. If this is a problem, why didn't they ask him to appoint more representatives to the EU to address the increased traffic or the increased amount of requests to process? It just feels like there were other more common sense ways to resolve this that would have resulted in maybe more of these human traffickers and pedophiles getting caught. And it feels like they intentionally didn't take that route in France.
Yeah, and my understanding is that Telegram is encrypted, the chats are private, but they have always had a policy that they would remove illegal content. And I guess I'm not super clear on what requests exactly they would field from the federal government where they would, or the French government or whatever government, where they would actually turn over the communications. The language suggests that they don't do that they don't cooperate, but then they also say that they take illegal content very seriously. So I would want to know more about exactly what that relationship was like prior to passing judgment on Telegram or the French government. But generally speaking, I mean, your analogy about the gun in the apartment was an interesting one. I mean, I saw something similar on X where someone was describing this as someone, the French government forcing you to put recording devices in every apartment that you own. If, let's say, you're a landlord, you have to put recording devices in every apartment. And then at the end of the week, you have to give the recording device over to the French government so that they can listen to everything that was said and make sure that there was nothing illegal that people were talking about. I mean, fundamentally, this is a speech issue. And I would always err on the side of allowing people the right to speak.
Yeah, I think if we were in a place where the police were regularly solving the criminal cases that they do have and they could handle more information on crimes, I would be like, you know what? You guys have done such a good job solving all of the violent crimes we have. Here you go. Here's some more information. No, they don't even investigate the crimes that they have ample evidence for. They don't even test the rape kits that many of them have a backlog of, and people are getting pulled over for traffic violations. I think this is the exact kind of thing that sows a mistrust in government here and anywhere. You have the government meant to enforce laws, but instead using their power for something nefarious to consolidate their own. I think that's the main problem I have with this, is that in the United States, at least, we've seen a lack of action for a lot of violent crimes, and we've seen the Justice Department weaponized. Why? Why are we pushing criminal charges against Hamas leaders? Is Merrick Garland going to ensure the DOJ arrests them? Why are our resources not being used to keep people safer? Why are they instead being used to make international political statements? So I think this very thing is exactly what sows mistrust. And I think the French authorities have a lot to answer for with this case, but I think we're going to continue to follow it because it's incredibly interesting. We could even, Amber, take that knife analogy. If I gave my friend a knife set and they used it to murder someone, am I an accomplice? But I think your landlord analogy is probably better because it does have to do with eavesdropping. What did they expect? What requests did they have that were not being fulfilled? I think that's what I'm really fascinated to see come out of this criminal proceeding.
Yeah, I mean, bare minimum, we should hope that whatever outcome they reach is one that protects the speech of everybody around the world. Although in Europe, there's been some crazy stuff happening with speech, with governments going after people for social media posts that are perhaps politically opposed to the current government. So I'm not super optimistic, but we're going to continue to follow the case here on Rising.